DIDI SOMMERMAN shops at this natural food store on the Danforth regularly.
I think there's no price you put on health.
Even though organic fruits and vegetables are sometimes more expensive than conventional produce, SOMMERMAN says it's worth it.
I assume they're pesticide-free. In fact, I don't even rinse my organic vegetables and fruits. I figured whatever's on them is human stuff. It's not, there's no chemicals on there.
It's an assumption many shoppers make, including ADELE SHERMAN.
I don't use any processed food at all because I'm concerned about what that does to our health in the end.
But data obtained by CBC News under the Access to Information Act shows nearly half of organic fruits and vegetables tested in Ontario have traces of pesticides, and a little over 1% of the samples exceeded Canada's maximum allowed limits for pesticides.
That's disconcerting, I have to say. But the truth is, when you buy organic tomatoes from the same farm that grows non-organic tomatoes, you're running that risk always.
The data comes as no surprise to those in the industry.
We see pesticide residues throughout our environment. It's in our soil, they're in our water, our drinking water now, and there's new reports coming out showing pesticides in fetal cord blood. So unfortunately, it's really hard to have a zero pesticide residue any longer.
Organic produce was tested over 2 years by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. While chemical traces were found, the food was deemed safe to eat. This food safety expert says toxicity levels are measured by ADI, or acceptable daily intake, and the organic produce tested didn't exceed those levels.
Above the ADI, the products will be pulled from the marketplace, and that's why you're not seeing any recall action being taken when there is a detectable level of pesticides.
The CFIA gives the data to third-party certification bodies, whose job is to make sure organic producers are abiding by the regulations, and it has protocols in place in case the rules are broken.
The agency could implement a corrective action, and this could include detention and mandatory testing for future products that the company wishes to bring into the Canadian market.
Stuart McMillan is an organic industry inspector and farmer. He says despite the detection of pesticide, the levels are nowhere near what's found in non-organic food.
Yes, there are residues, but they're well below the residues that you see on conventional products. So do you want to avoid pesticide residues? Then even these tests show that buying organics is the right way to go if you want to avoid pesticide residues on the food that you and your family's eating.
Experts say it's virtually impossible to reach zero pesticide levels, but McMillan says it's important to keep things in perspective.
Until we find a way to build a bubble that is filtered in every which way, but nobody wants to grow food in a bubble. It's both unrealistic and certainly not very organic. We shouldn't be surprised that there is some trace levels.
For these organic food shoppers, residual pesticide isn't enough to deter them from buying organic.
It does trouble me. I don't like to hear that information, but nevertheless, I'm still going to go for the option that has the least pesticide levels.
It's also the future of the planet. That's the other thing about buying organic, right? I mean, so people that don't feel it's cost effective or that their bodies matter, it's the future of the planet and children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren.